I have my design options defined now, so if I was in the main model, I'm seeing the first design option, which is north-south as part of the main model. But also if I move down to the other options, I can see my building rotate and change as I change those options. Let's go back to the main model here. What I want to do is I want to run the energy analysis to look at my building. So I'm switching to look at it in 3D. And I want to confirm that I'm in the correct location. So if I click on location, I can see I'm logged into St. Louis, Missouri, and it'll pick up the weather station file from there. The step to create an energy analysis is that you want to be able to push a floor through the building. Once you've pushed the floor through the masses, it knows that that's what you want to use for the energy analysis. So I'm switching to the north-south option because that's where my mass objects were. And then I'm selecting them. And once I select them, you see that I can say apply mass floors. There's only the one floor running through the building, which is level 1, so I check that on. And I've now pushed mass floors through the building. The next step is that I want to set the energy settings. So if I click on energy settings, if I move this up a little bit, you'll see it better, but it says an office with the ground plane at level 1, St. Louis, Missouri, and I want to change that to say that, you know what, with regards to occupancy, this is actually a school. Let's go down through the options. It's school or university. Right. The other option is I can say to it here now, create an energy model. So that needs to be tagged on. If I want a perimeter of closed spaces around the exterior of my building, like you might have in an office, you would specify an offset for that perimeter. But I'm going to set it to 0 because we don't have a perimeter. And I also usually like to while there's a value in here, say 4 feet, I like to check that off. I don't want it to try and create a division of that perimeter. I check that off and then set that to 0. The percentage of glass in the building, let's leave it at 40% or set it to 40%. And the actual R values for the exterior wall, interior wall, roof, shading, all of these values are defaults. I'm just going to go with the defaults because at the moment all I need is an early comparison between the variations on a theme where orientation by itself is the only thing that I'm changing. So I'm just going to go with all of the defaults exactly as they are and click OK. Immediately I see my surface model. Right, so it's got the 40% openings on all of the parts of my building. I can look at my model in its mass form. I can look at it as surfaces, and I can look at it as zones. Right, the zone at the moment is just the one zone of this is a school. This is the building, which was defined as being a university or school. But you can go ahead and edit these anytime you want. Without doing the editing at the moment, let me just switch it back to the surfaces because it looks a bit better. I'm going to say go ahead now and analyze the model. At this point, we're actually sending the information via the internet. I know that I'm logged in because I can see my username up here. And it started to produce the study. So it should have the name of the project, which I'd call JC School Linear, and it's asking me for the name of the report that I want to produce. Let me call this 01 North-South and continue. Almost immediately, it's sending the information and it's using the data from the weather station file to do the energy analysis. But almost immediately, I can click on the results and compare. And this is looking a little cluttered, but you can see up here, JC School Linear, 01 North-South, 77% done. and 85% done now. I can actually just close that because it'll notify me when the report's finished. I'll get a notification, it pops up down here. And what I was saying is, I can go ahead. Oh, it's already popped up. It's already finished. There's the report. Let me try and scroll down through this so you can see what we get. St. Louis, Missouri, it's got the outdoor temperatures, it's got the floor area from the building, it's got 355 people would be allowed in a building of this size. It's summarizing some of the information we gave it, the 40% for windows. It's got the cost of local utilities. And the value that I'm interested in is the probably amounts to the costing, right? When it really comes down to it, what I'm interested in is this life cycle energy cost is $331,000, or $331,990 over 30 years, assuming a 6.1 discount rate for cost. So that's where I'm going to compare one project to the next. Notice though that I can also look at the building and see that, well, it's actually showing me that there's some potential for, if I click on the detail view, it's actually showing me what potential is there for generating energy within the building. And so the bigger this is, the more potential there is to generate electricity. Typically, it's things like, are there south-facing slopes? Is there a roof that slopes to the south? For at least for the northern hemisphere. Down here is calculations with regard to the carbon footprint. And then if I click on this to go back to my report, there's a ton of information with regard to the performance of the building. If you look at that, for instance, the monthly heating load, you can see how it drops in the summer. If you look at the cooling loads, because this is assumed that it's a school university and it probably closed through the summer months, you can see the change in the pattern for the cooling loads that are here. So you might want to run variations, other reports where you go in and say, you know what, actually this building is occupied 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But you can make those changes, then run the report and see what the difference is in the analysis. Some of the options here, like the summary of the annual Windrose, where you can see month by month the direction and strength of prevailing winds, are now a little bit redundant because the product has already been improved by adding things like the Windrose or the wind tunnel. So there are even better tools available than the output for the output that's shown in the report, but we'll get to those a little bit later. The point that I want to make here is I don't have to spend a ton of time on this. You see, what I can do is say, there's my second option, right? It doesn't really matter how I'm looking at it. I'll switch back to the 3D view just so you can, well, sorry, it is the 3D view. And then I'll say, analyze that model. Right, so I've got the same settings. Oh, sorry, I needed to, and actually I'm not going to clean this up. I'll leave it as it is. What did I forget to do? I forgot to tell it that the floor runs through at the base. Now that I've told it that, I can go back to my analysis and say, analyze that model. This is 02 northeast southwest. I'll name my report 02 northeast southwest. Kick it off. Now, so it's doing this. This is infinite computing. I don't need to be concerned with what it's doing on the internet. I can continue to work. So I can go to the third option. I'm going to remember this time to grab it and make sure that I've got floors running through it. And submitting the analysis. And then almost immediately, so I'm going to name the report 03. I've already got a notification that the second report is finished. 03 East west. So I'll do one more and stop, but you get the idea. I can go through and produce my 8 reports, letting the power of infinite computing do all the work for me as I continue to work on my computer, right? So through here, analyze the model. It asks me for a report name. This one I'm going to call 04 southeast northwest. The other ones are finished already, but continue. So I would go through each of them generating reports. As it works, I can also check at any time what the progress is by clicking on the results and compare. And if you see up here, it's finished the first, second, third, it's working on the fourth, and it's almost finished that. So just stop and think for a second how long this used to take if you were doing this kind of thing with manual calculations.